Speaker, I'm pleased to table the 1987-88 annual report of the Department of Consumer and Corporate Affairs.
Minister of Technology, Research and Telecommunications.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to table the 15th annual report of the Alberta Education Communications Corporation. Also the 1987-88 report of the Alberta Heritage Foundation for Medical Research, copies of which have been distributed to the members.
Carried. Member for Grand Prairie.
Mr. Speaker, I wish, as Chairman of the Northern Alberta Development Council, to file 4 copies of 2 publications, the Community Survey Handbook and a study of the youth of Northern Alberta in entrepreneurship.
Minister of Public Works Supply and Services.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to table with the Assembly the 1987-88 annual report of Alberta Public Safety Services.
Minister of Culture, Multiculturalism.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased to table with the Assembly 4 copies each of the following annual reports: the Department of Culture and Multiculturalism annual report for 87-88, the Alberta Historical Resources Foundation 88 annual report, the annual report of the Alberta Foundation for the Literary Arts, the annual report 87-88 of the Alberta Cultural Heritage Foundation, and the 1988 annual report of the Glenbow, Alberta Institute.
Minister of Family and Social Services.
Mr. Speaker, I am pleased to be able to table the 1986-87 annual report of the formerly named Department of Social Services. I would point out that this report was sent to the members of the Legislative Assembly some months ago, so that there would be no delay in the information being provided. Again, in keeping with the government's commitment to providing full and complete information to the members of this Assembly and the public in general, I am pleased to table the 1988 annual report of the Social Cares Facility Review Committee, an important watchdog committee which monitors the activities of facilities licensed by my department.
Introduction of special guests.
Minister of Recreation and Parks.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, it is my pleasure today to introduce to you and to the members of the Legislative Assembly the winners of the Alberta Sports Council's Year of the Coach Essay Contest, their parents and coaches. The Year of the Coach Essay Contest was developed, Mr. Speaker, to heighten awareness of the positive contributions Alberta coaches make to sports in the province of Alberta. I would ask that the winners, their parents and coaches rise as I call out their names. They are seated in your gallery, Mr. Speaker, and ask the members to hold their warm welcome until they've been introduced. The winners are as follows: Tara Dudeman, who is in grade 3 at Jesse Duncan Elementary School at Penhold, her parents Ian and Karen Dudeman, and her gymnastic coach Jeff Meadows. Kerry Williams, who is in grade 5 at Westlock Elementary School in Westlock, his parents Wayne and Linda Williams, and his swimming coach Mrs. Ann Jameson. Also here today is Sean Wold, a grade 9 student from Alliance, Alberta. Alliance School, his parents Dale and Sylvia Wold, his coach Barry Olson, and his wife Laurie. And finally we have Marlon Erickson, a grade 10 student from William E. Hay Composite High School in Stettler, her parents Robert and Phyllis Erickson, and her swimming coach Larry Nielsen and his wife Joan. I would ask all members to extend a warm welcome and congratulations in their traditional manner.
Member for Grand Prairie.
Mr. Speaker, it's my special privilege today to introduce to you and through you to members of this Assembly special visitors from Denmark this morning. In our gallery we have a Mr. and Mrs. Hans Nielsen, and their Canadian, in fact they're Alberta, indeed they're Grand Prairie guides, Mr. and Mrs. Ed Boyce. I'd ask them to stand and receive a warm welcome to this Assembly.
Edmonton Avonmore.
Mr. Speaker, it is my pleasure today to introduce to you and through you to the members of this Assembly 74 students from St. Hilda's School. I believe they are seated in the members' gallery. They are accompanied by teachers Mr. Burke and Mrs. Lecky Perrin, and parents Mrs. Vicky Bastide, Mrs. Penny Lannick, Mrs. Sally Stewart Leach, Mrs. Pat McIntyre, Mrs. Helen Trellenberg, Mrs. Ann Bosse, Mrs. Audrey Taylor, Mrs. Betty Clutterham, Mrs. Janine Edwards, and Mr. John Switz. I would ask that they rise and receive the warm welcome of this assembly.
Member for Stony Plain.
Mr. Speaker, to you and through you to the members of the Assembly, I would like to outdo Edmonton Avonmore and introduce 82 students from Brookwood Elementary School located in the city of Spruce Grove. They're accompanied by their teachers Beth Willett, Reuben Bauer, Sharon Higgins, and parents Mr. Welsh, Mrs. Soyce, Mrs. Day, Mrs. Bossy, Mrs. Brewer. They are seated in the public gallery. I'd ask them to rise and receive the traditional warm welcome of the House.
Ministerial statements. Oral question period.
Mr. Speaker, to the Premier. Mr. Speaker, it should be rather obvious to everybody now that this government can't be trusted to keep its promises. Say anything before an election, during an election, and then have your real agenda after, Mr. Speaker. And in case I misquoted, Mr. Speaker, I have along their commitments here in a nice journal ad, Mr. Speaker, and one of them it says, and I quote, "In fact, because of Alberta's economic strength," Don Getty says, "there's only one direction Alberta taxes will take, and that direction is down, Mr. Speaker." Just the opposite has happened. Some taxes have gone up, none have gone down. Why didn't you tell the truth during the election?
Mr. Speaker, we've dealt with the matter before. As I've told the honourable member, the people of Alberta, we've been referring to income taxes. And, Mr. Speaker, the honourable members don't like it. That's tough.
Mr. Speaker, it's not tough on us. It's tough on the people of Alberta. That's right. It doesn't say anything about income taxes in there, Mr. Speaker. But let me look at another one. In 1987 budget, the government brought in what they called a temporary flat tax rate. They said temporary, Mr. Speaker. Yeah. I notice it's still there. Why didn't they remove this tax if they said taxes were going down? Why, again, didn't they tell the truth to the people of Alberta?
All honourable members, I'm sure know, Mr. Speaker, that the government removed part of the temporary tax this last year.
Mr. Speaker, the point that we're trying to make is this is an election commitment, Mr. Speaker.
That's right.
And I'm asking the Premier, why would you put out and spend all this money on something if you had no intention of following through, Mr. Speaker? Why, again, were you lying to the people of Alberta?
Hear, hear. Mr. Speaker, I know how uncomfortable the opposition is with trying to draw up some terrible catastrophe that was coming in the budget and to have found all their predictions fall apart. In fact, what we have is a budget that has the best people services in Canada, the lowest taxes in Canada, meets our commitments, and moves to a balanced budget. That's the message in the budget.
Second main question. Point of order. Thank you.
For exercise, it doesn't get much else to do back there. Mr. Speaker, to follow up, they can pound all they like, but Albertans know exactly what they said, Mr. Speaker. And my question now to the Treasurer, maybe we can get some truth from the Treasurer, Mr. Speaker. And I go back. I know his picture isn't on this, Mr. Speaker, but he is the Treasurer. He said that eventually we would be... our consolidated debt, I want to point out, is now going to be, after this budget year, close to $10 billion. And this budget year, our deficit will probably be another $2 billion. And during, in here, it says very clearly, Mr. Speaker, it says very clearly that Alberta's fiscal management plan will result in balanced budgets by 1991. This plan is not only on target, it's $500 million ahead, Mr. Speaker. Now we learn the truth in this budget, Mr. Speaker, and I ask the Treasurer, how can Albertans ever again think that this government has a serious fiscal plan?
Magic Johnson.
Yeah. Mr. Speaker, there's no doubt that the people of Alberta understand that this government is a government that represents good management and strong fiscal responsibility. And, Mr. Speaker, we are the ones who took the tough actions in 1987. We addressed immediately the problems which were facing us as a result of sharp oil price changes in that period. And now the economy is emerging, and now the economy is strong, and now the investment dollars are flowing to this province. The people of Alberta understand that plan, Mr. Speaker, and the statistics, Mr. Speaker, are supporting the plan that's now in action. We know that we can manage the size of our expenditures. When I spoke last night, Mr. Speaker, I pointed out very vividly that, in fact, the expenditures of this province over the past 4 years are, on average, only 1.3%. That's an amazing record. And we took the tough action. We made good management decisions, and I can tell you that this government has faith in the future of this province. This province is on the rebound again.
Oh, yeah. Till next February, eh?
Till February, eh?
Mr. Speaker, what claptrap. $10 billion in debt in the last number of years, Mr. Speaker. And again, was this a commitment or not? Was the Treasurer aware that they were putting this out? And if he did, why didn't he stop them when he knew full well that they weren't going to reach that balanced budget the way they said in this commitment, Mr. Speaker?
Mr. Speaker, let me clarify for the member across the way who is throwing these numbers around very casually that this province, on balance, does have some debt, Mr. Speaker, and we're dealing with that problem. We are the ones who are going to take on the challenge of reducing the deficit and eventually reducing that debt. But you know, Mr. Speaker, the facts of the matter are this. New investment is coming to this province. Now, the member from Norwood always says he's the one who protects jobs. Quite the contrary, Mr. Speaker. The policies of this government are the ones who generate jobs, protect jobs, and generate long-term investment.
Agreed.
It's amazing. It's amazing, Mr. Speaker. It's amazing. This morning, Mr. Speaker, the current unemployment rates in Canada were released. Now, I know the member doesn't want me to recite them, but they know they're very dramatic information, Mr. Speaker, that this Assembly should see. What it shows, Mr. Speaker...
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Order, please. Order, please. Save some ammunition for the final supplementary. Thank you.
Speaker, this Treasurer's been wrong so many times. Mr. Speaker, their fiscal strategy is getting on their knees and bowing to the sheiks of East. That's our fiscal plan, Mr. Speaker. Okay. But I wanted then, Mr. Speaker, because I don't believe even this Treasurer believes in the things that were in that budget. I believe that honestly. But I want to ask this Treasurer, Mr. Speaker, because of the debt and all the rest of it, knowing what happened in 1986, 87, will he give his solemn commitment here that in the budget coming up in probably less than 9 months, there will be no increase in taxes on average families and no cutbacks in the people's services such as education, health care, and social service?
Thank you, Honourable Member.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the people of Alberta know the commitment of this government. We have always maintained the lowest possible tax regime of any province in Canada. We do not have a sales tax, Mr. Speaker, in this province. 8% taken out of the working folks' pockets. Now, Mr. Speaker, I'll tell you about the agenda of this province. The member across the way likes to talk about the secret agenda. We have an agenda, Mr. Speaker, and that agenda is to get this economy growing, to get investment dollars flowing into this province, to have the lowest unemployment, second only to Ontario and Canada, and to have a very strong, vibrant opportunity with high education expenditures, great medical services, and some of the finest opportunities for the youth in this province of anywhere in Canada. That's our agenda. It may well be a secret agenda because it's not the one that they want, but it's the agenda the people of Alberta want, Mr. Speaker.
Leader of the Liberal Party.
Mr. Speaker, by the end of this fiscal term, and during the whole of the period that Mr. Premier has been in his job and his position, we now have an accumulated deficit which is equal to $3,300 for every man, woman, and child in Alberta. Mr. Speaker, the Premier made promises, commitments to Alberta during the course of the election, and one of those commitments was that there would be no increase in the deficit. My question to the Premier is this: why has he betrayed the commitment to Albertans in now seeing that the deficit has gone up when he said that it would not go up?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the honourable member is making some comments. I don't think he knows what he's talking about, and I can't respond to something in his mind.
That's right.
Oh, what?
Mr. Speaker, the Premier has a very short memory. I'd like to ask the Premier, why during the election, sir, did you continue to promise to Albertans that your government's plan to do away with our deficit by 1990 to 91 was on target? Why did you make those statements? Why did you fool people, sir?
As I've said before, Mr. Speaker, I normally notice in the legislature when members have a very weak position to place, they tend to yell and raise their voice. And this member is following right along in the Liberal normal tactics. The provincial treasurer dealt with this matter last night and dealt with it very effectively.
He didn't deal with it.
Mr. Speaker, is the Premier aware that the monies now required to service debt are 42% higher this year? That's to $825 million. And is he prepared to admit that this lack of fiscal planning is going to have Alberta entrepreneurs not have the confidence in the Alberta economy, and people outside Alberta having the same lack of confidence because of his lack of commitment, his lack of action, his no plan?
Again, Mr. Speaker, the honourable member is showing that he doesn't know what he's talking about. And he's done that over a period of time, and now he confirms it in the legislature. In fact, the statistics that the honourable provincial treasurer is talking about today explained last night in the budget. Billions of dollars of investment flowing across this province. Confidence strong and healthy in this province. The unemployment statistics released today showing the best employment statistics since 1982. As the provincial treasurer pointed out, 1.3 average over the last 4 years increased in program expenditures, the best in Canada. This government has just presented the best people services budget in Canada, the lowest taxes in Canada, met all our commitments. And it's too bad they just don't like it, Mr. Speaker.
Table. Does he get one more? Okay, thank you. Member for Banff Cochrane, followed by Calgary Mountain View.
Speaker, last night in this assembly we heard that the employment figures in Alberta were very positive for last year. Last year is last year. This is a very important issue for the people of Banff Cochrane, Mr. Speaker. And I would like to ask a question to the Acting Minister of Career Development and Employment. What are the statistics for 1989?
Order, please, Honourable Minister. Thank you. Perhaps all the House could give the courtesy to the members that they expect to have received themselves. Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. If there ever was a situation in the case, or a better example of situation of promises made and promises kept, the area of economic revival of this province, as seen through the unemployment figures in this province, is probably the most dramatic one. This morning, we were informed in the province of Alberta from Statistics Canada that our actual unemployment rate in the province of Alberta for the month of May of 1989 was 6.7%, Mr. Speaker. That's down. Mr. Speaker, that is down a full 1.4 percentage points from the previous month. That's the lowest level of unemployment that we had in the province of Alberta since April of 1982. We also have 1,236,000 Albertans employed. That's the highest level ever in the history of this province.
Banff Cochrane, supplementary.
Supplemental question, Mr. Speaker. Supplemental question, Mr. Speaker. Summer is here. This government has made a commitment to the youth of this province as our future. Again, a question to the acting minister. May I please have statistics on student employment in Alberta?
Mr. Speaker, according to the figures provided to us this morning by Statistics Canada, the amount of students, young people employed in this province, and all members will recall that in the speech from the throne given on February 17, 1989, a speech from the throne of June 1, 1989, and the budget address presented last night, a major commitment of this government was to the skills enhancement and employment of the citizens of Alberta. And I'm pleased to report that according to Statistics Canada, that we had 100,000 Alberta students employed in the month of May. That is a new record in the history of the province of Alberta for a month of May, Mr. Speaker.
Second supplemental, Mr. Speaker, to the acting minister. This government has indicated that it's made a commitment to rejuvenating the economies of Edmonton and Calgary. Let's hear what the statistics are for those areas.
Mr. Speaker, even more dramatic than the figures that I've talked about for the whole province of Alberta, the figures that you can see here in the city of Edmonton. In April of 1989, the unemployment level in Edmonton was 9.5%. As of today, the unemployment level in the city of Edmonton is 7.6%, Mr. Speaker. A dramatic reduction. In Calgary. And in Calgary, Mr. Speaker, those figures have reduced themselves unemployment-wise from 7.3% in April to 6.5%. And, Mr. Speaker, there's a clear indication as to why this has happened. A major reason, of course, is the economic development strategies of this government in this part of Alberta. But secondly, Mr. Speaker, the more positive leadership now that we see in the city of Edmonton under Mayor Kavanagh is a direct reflection of this.
Chair hasn't recognized the member yet. Chair will recognize the following order: Calgary Mountain View, Calgary Buffalo, Calgary Glenmore. Thank you, Calgary Mountain View.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last year in his financial plan, in 1988, on page 23, the provincial treasurer included the Heritage Fund capital projects in estimating the true budget deficit of the province. Last night, Mr. Speaker, he fudged the figures and gave no similar estimate for the true deficit figure in the current financial year. Well, the provincial treasurer now admits to the legislature that the combined deficit for last year was over $1.9 billion, rather than the budgetary deficit figure the provincial treasurer gave to the legislature last night.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm the last one who wants to deal with the confusing statistics. We could obviously present all kinds of information. Let me simply reveal that obviously the focus of this Legislative Assembly in terms of budget, in terms of program position, is always on the General Revenue Fund. Now, there are other expenditures that take place across government agencies, including the Heritage Fund, and the Heritage Fund expenditures were referred to in the budget speech last night, Mr. Speaker. But all members know that the expenditures out of the Capital Projects Division of the Heritage Fund do not have a call on the General Revenue Fund. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, in terms of disclosure, we thought it was just as fair to show the impact of the General Revenue Fund, because that's where the general management, the general interest of the people of Alberta is focused.
Well, Mr. Speaker, each year they count the income from the Heritage Fund. This year they don't any longer count the expenditures under the fund. Well, the provincial treasurer now come clean to the legislature and confirm that the combined deficit for this year is really $1,634 million, and not the lower figure he tried to foist off on us last night.
Well, Mr. Speaker, you could, of course, consolidate for disclosure purposes a variety of different funds, and of course those are consolidated at the end of the year when we file the annual report of the province here in the Legislative Assembly. But I suppose, Mr. Speaker, if you took the same analysis that the member across the way has just presented, you'd also note a very interesting statistic as well, that under this current budget that I presented on behalf of the government last night, under your numbers, the member from Mountain View, in fact, you would see that we reduced our deficit even more dramatically on a year-over-year basis this year as a result of the combination of those numbers.
Not true, Jack.
It's still not as good as he tried to paint the picture last night. And I want to know why the provincial treasurer is deliberately trying to switch the figures this year for the first time and hide the true combined deficit figure from the people of Alberta.
Oh, no, Mr. Speaker, there's no attempt here to hide information. I'm sure that through the debate here, which will ensue over the hot summer months ahead, that we'll have ample opportunity to look at a variety of other funds that are being used by the government to cover expenditures. We have used this disclosure previously, Mr. Speaker, and as I've indicated before, this is consistent with other governments in terms of how they disclose their expenditures, provides for intergovernmental comparisons, Mr. Speaker. And we all know, Mr. Speaker, we'll have an opportunity in just a few days to debate the Heritage Fund as well. So you see, Mr. Speaker, this information is on the table. Anybody who has any understanding of the way in which financial information is disclosed would understand that, and I'm sure over the next few days I'll have an opportunity to give the member a lesson again.
Thank you. Calgary Buffalo, followed by Calgary Glenmore, then Edmonton Millwoods.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This government is developing a national reputation for creative accounting which misleads rather than informs. Last year's creativity was reflected by, amongst other things, $18.50 a barrel oil. This year we have $19 a barrel oil when major oil companies are using $17 to $17.50. And more spectacularly, the provincial treasurer at page 30 of his budget address has estimated that sales of Crown leases will bring in $525 million this year, which is an increase of $75 million over last year, when in fact these revenues for the 2 months of this fiscal year to date are down $50 million from last year. They're down 43% on the basis of figures that I have right here from the government. And I'm wondering how the Premier justifies his government predicting a $75 million increase in Crown sales when the figures for the 2 months to date reflect a decrease of $50 million, which would result in a decrease of at least $200 million for the whole year.
Well, again, Mr. Speaker, let me just give a couple of facts here, Mr. Speaker. As I look at the calendar, it's now June the 9th. It's a Friday. We're now 6 months into the year. We have given to Albertans the best guess we have as to oil prices. I've been in consultation with my colleague, the Minister of Energy. The oil price is not just an oil price, but it's a composite index of oil and natural gas as well. And I think we can say, Mr. Speaker, that the price of oil will be fairly close to $19 for the 12-month period that this budget covers. And how can we say that, Mr. Speaker? Well, the first 6 months of 1989 has already shown the price of oil to be well over $19. I think the prediction this year, Mr. Speaker, is closer than we have ever been before. And this government knows two things. That it believes that the industry, when it sees that price confirmation in place, will bring the activity back to this province because it's the best place to be. And we know, Mr. Speaker, as we said in the budget speech last night, that the optimism in the natural gas sector, both in terms of the expansion of the American markets, will give us a dramatic...
Order, please. Order, please. Order. It's interesting to note that in this legislature, as in the last, that Friday mornings seem to generate even more of the fun and games and the babble. But nevertheless, in actual fact, perhaps the noise could be cut down a bit so at least the rest of us could hear what the answer is. Supplementary, Calgary Buffalo.
Well, we've had $20 barrel oil and the land sales are down 43%, and I'm wondering whether the Premier can think of any reason and tell us why his government is predicting that land sales are suddenly going to get hot when there's no indication that oil prices, and his government isn't even predicting that oil prices are going to go up. And when we have a drilling industry which is almost ground to a halt. Is there a Ouija board in operation in the cabinet room?
Well, Mr. Speaker, both the industry and the people of Alberta know that this government bases its decisions on facts. We consult with the private sector on a day-to-day basis with respect to our information. There is a blend of prices. The price we used is far above some prices coming out of the New York and London markets and Saudi Arabia. I noticed today that the press in Calgary is saying that the $19 amount is within reason. It shows their optimism. It shows their view of the future. And Mr. Speaker, with respect to land sales, let me point out that in 1987, we forecast, I think, $300 million. Lo and behold, it was $750 million. I didn't hear the member criticizing us at that point, Mr. Speaker. We have faith, we have confidence, and the industry is going to rebound in this province.
Well, Mr. Speaker, these numbers are clearly totally unacceptable. I'm wondering whether the Premier will instruct his provincial treasurer to do the right thing, and now here, one day after he presented his budget address, to present a new budget update which will reflect an increased budget deficit of $200 million to account for what is going to be a decrease in Crown lease sales rather than an increase as is number.
Thank you.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I guess, Mr. Speaker, we have optimism. We, in fact, believe that our deficit will improve over what's been reported here because of the strength in the oil and gas sector. The land sales, Mr. Speaker, will come back in this province in the fall of this year. You can be assured of that. And don't forget, Mr. Speaker, that this fiscal year carries through to March 31st, 1990, and the forecast for 1990 in oil and gas prices, Mr. Speaker, is even more bullish than what we have put in our budget.
Calgary, Glenmore, followed by Edmonton Mill Woods, and then Edmonton Gold Bar.
Mr. Speaker, our government, in the throne speech and now in the budget speech last night, advocated independency for seniors. In the budget speech last night, there's a significant increase of funding for home care from up to 44% to $47 million. This is indeed a significant amount of money. Would the Minister of Health please tell this Assembly whether this money will be targeted specifically to seniors?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I welcome the question because not only have we told Albertans about the importance of getting on with some of the important choices to support their independence, we have followed through on our financial commitments as outlined in the budget last evening. Certainly our home care increase of 44% will be targeted at seniors, and I'm very proud to be part of a budget process which overall spending will ensure that seniors are supported by $1 billion in our expenditures in this province.
Will seniors be able to access home care on a 24-hour basis, 7 days a week, or is it still just the usual 5 days a week?
Mr. Speaker, I will have to check on the exact time allocation for the programs. There are different uses of the home care dollars as we support the variability of access and the variability of needs across our province. So I will double check on that for the honourable member and get back to her.
Thank you. While the home care is indeed very important, what plan does the Minister have regarding implementation of the long-term care report with the recommendations towards coordinating other programs?
Well, Mr. Speaker, again, we get onto the issue of the commitments that we have made to Albertans. In the general policy framework of the social policy paper that we described, we supported the whole issue of choices for individual Albertans and support in them in making those choices. We followed through, Mr. Speaker, with the establishment of the Long-Term Care Committee, and I applaud the member for Calgary-Glenmore as the chairperson of that committee, who did some very fine work in consulting across our province. Thirdly, we get into the whole issue of health choices and the expansion in our budget last evening of long-term care with respect to community choices, which will get some of our seniors out of institutions, will delay some of them moving in, and move in programs like wellness for seniors, day adult programs, and homemaker training. But as well, we're working on the institutional side, Mr. Speaker, with a patient classification system which will now blur the lines between nursing home care and auxiliary care and ensure that we can serve Albertans well within the fiscal management position of this province.
Member for Edmonton Mill Woods, followed by Edmonton Gold Bar, then Rocky Mountain House.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday in this House, the minister responsible for the Workers' Compensation Board said this, and I'm quoting from yesterday's Hansard, "I'll apologize for the Workers' Compensation Board and for myself if I in fact erred," unquote. Now, Mr. Speaker, that apology might be considered an apology by our Liberal friends, but it most certainly is not by New Democrats.
I'm sorry, Honourable Member. Honourable Member. The apology was there in terms of privilege yesterday and withdrawn. It was accepted by the House. Therefore, that's really pretty skittish ground. The Chair looks forward to hearing the question. The Chair looks forward to hearing the question from Edmonton Mill Woods, not from the whole caucus. Thank you.
My question to the minister is simply this, Mr. Speaker. Given the gravity of the matter involving the violation of a citizen's right to confidentiality, will he now do the honourable thing today and issue an unreserved, unqualified apology to Mr. Spencer?
Mr. Speaker, I think my comments in Hansard stand.
Well, having passed up that opportunity to reestablish some integrity, will the minister now take this opportunity to stand in the House and do the honourable thing and resign?
Final supplementary.
Mr. Speaker, final supplementary to the Premier, who has to, I'm sure, appreciate that the public must have some basis of trust in cabinet ministers, ministers of the Crown. And I would like to ask the Premier this. What course of action is he going to take in this matter? Will he ask the Workers' Compensation Board of Directors to launch a prosecution against the minister for this violation, or will he ask for his resignation? Which will it be?
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member has surely got himself off on some wild goose chase. But I would say this to the House, that as I understand, the House dealt with the matter of privilege on its own basis yesterday. I understand that. But I want to recall to the honourable members my announcement that I've asked the minister to review with the Workers' Compensation Board how its staff, officers, and others disseminate information, and for him to report back to me, and we will deal with any recommendations he might have.
Edmonton Goldbar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, for some months now we've heard passionate statements from the Premier about the need to strengthen and protect family life, and in particular to deal with the tragedy of drug abuse and our urgent requirements for intervention and treatment. The government and the Premier raised expectations in the public about this treatment being available. Now we're finding the promise is broken as the budget changes from being a $200 million fund for immediate treatment programs into a $250,000 study program. Another year, another study, another promise shattered. Mr. Speaker, my question is to the Premier. Why the sudden need, Mr. Premier, to study the issue when the Premier was so insistent during the campaign that the drug situation in Alberta needed immediate action? Why the stall?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the honourable member draws conclusions that are completely false. The government has announced that there will be a $200 million endowment in the Heritage Trust Fund, much as we have the medical research endowment in the Heritage Trust Fund, and that it will deal with family life and drug abuse. It will make, I'm sure, an outstanding contribution to the education, treatment, research into the problems of drug abuse that is so widespread in our society these days. We are committed to that, and we will do it. We want to make sure that it proceeds on a reasonable stage after stage accomplishment. We're going to do it with the Minister of Health and the Minister of Education and the Minister of Family and Social Services working together. And there is no change in our commitment. We have the planning going on. We have ADAC working with us as well. And our commitment to fight against this scourge is as strong as ever.
Mr. Speaker, another promise broken. Surely we know what needs to be done. When, in the Premier's mind, will there be treatment facilities available for the young people of this province? When will they be here?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Minister of Health may well want to deal with this in some additional way. But as the member knows, the government will be proceeding to provide education, research, and treatment services to the best of our ability because we feel so strongly about this matter of drug abuse and its impact on family life in Alberta.
Speaker, I would like to supplement the Premier's response. I think as we look to the very important role that ADAC has played in this province, and I'm pleased that the budget for ADAC, as noted in the estimates book, will be increasing by close to 20% this year. That will include the enhancement of treatment capabilities within the ADAC program. But nonetheless, I believe, and the Premier has stated very effectively, that it's very important to talk to stakeholder groups across this province, to talk to experts, to talk to Albertans to determine how we can get the best value for the wonderful endowment out of the Heritage Fund, which of course will stay in the Heritage Fund, and the funds from it will be able to support this very important initiative that we intend to do well for the people of this province.
Mr. Speaker, we can't talk about ADAC. We're in catch-up there. They had $29 million in 86, 87. We're just now reaching back to where the cutbacks occurred. Mr. Speaker, my question again is to the Premier. What happened to the Grand Prairie Centre, the 50-bed centre that's been put on hold, that's been on the program since 86, and what's happened to the centres that the chairman of ADAC spoke about that were going to be in Edmonton and Calgary this fall? Where have they gone, Mr. Premier?
Mr. Speaker, I would be happy to deal with both of those, as will the chairman of the Alberta Alcoholism and Drug Abuse Commission, when our estimates are before the Assembly.
To Rocky Mountain House, followed by Vegreville.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We continue to be appalled and very concerned with the events that are going on and have been going on in China. We know that there are or have been a number of people from Alberta working on a dinosaur project in a northern remote area of China as well. To the Minister of Culture and Multiculturalism, I would like to ask him to bring the House up to date on the events as far as these people are concerned.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know that all Albertans share the concern for the situation in China, and it gives me a great deal of pleasure to inform the Assembly this morning that the 5 Canadians who were working in China connected with the dinosaur project are all safe. The individuals include Don Brinkman from the Tyrrell Museum in Drumheller and a freelance photographer from the same city, Mike Toder, who, along with 2 gentlemen from the National Museum of Ottawa, were working in the northern remote regions of the Gobi Desert. We've been able to contact them through the efforts of Federal Intergovernmental Affairs and through External Affairs, and they are now safe in a home in Beijing. Will be leaving Monday. And another individual from Edmonton, who is in Shanghai working on a film project there, is also going to be able to leave Monday. And we're very, very glad to be able to report that they've all been in touch with their families and things are fine.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We know that this was an ongoing project between the 2 governments. Would the minister bring us up to date on the status of the project?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, there has been some misinformation about the dinosaur project and the attitudes towards it. Let me say this, that the dinosaur project is an ongoing project of scientific and a research nature that's based on a people-to-people basis. The current political climate, however, in China does make it impossible for the work to continue in that location, but there's a great deal to do based on research that has been conducted over the last 3 or 4 years, and work will continue in Edmonton, in Drumheller, in the high Arctic, and in Ottawa, as we and the government continue to monitor the situation in China.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We also know that there were a number of students from Alberta studying in Heilongjiang province. To the Minister of Federal and Intergovernmental Affairs, would you please bring us up to date on the status of these students?
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to do so. Unfortunately, it has not been possible to obtain landing rights for a Canadian military Air Force aircraft in the city of Harbin. Therefore, plans have been made to transport the students to the eastern seacoast city of Dailing, and from there, charter aircraft has been made available, or is being retained by our government, actually, from Hong Kong to transport the students and their staff advisors back to outside the People's Republic of China, I think to Hong Kong or to Tokyo, from whence they will be returned to Edmonton. All families, I should advise the Assembly, have been contacted by the University of Alberta and by the Department of Federal Intergovernmental Affairs, and so far as we are aware, everything is proceeding so that the safety of the Alberta students can be assured, and that is something I would like to leave with the Assembly before the weekend. Member for Vegreville, followed by Edmonton Kingsway, Drayton Valley, Westlock Sturgeon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, welcoming the 5 cent a litre break on diesel fuel provided in the budget, I think farmers in Alberta are very skeptical about the way this government makes decisions about important farm programs. I might remind you that in 1987, when grain prices were rock bottom and farmers desperately needed cash, the Conservatives took away the 5 cent benefit. And in 1989, when the Conservatives needed votes, they brought the benefit back. And I'd like to ask the Premier why the political needs of the Conservative Party to cut spending in 1987 and to buy votes in 1989 are more important than the real needs of Alberta farmers.
Right on.
They aren't, Mr. Speaker.
Actions speak louder than words. The record speaks for itself. The Premier and his government voted against my motion in 1987 to restore that benefit.
That's right, they did.
Taking the Premier at his words, if the decision wasn't a political one, I'd like to ask him what calculations this government did to determine that when grain prices and net farm income were rock bottom, that this program for farmers should be cut, while in 1989, when grain prices are improving, that the program should be restored.
Well, Mr. Speaker, these matters are always judgment, and the Minister of Agriculture may well want to supplement my comments, but let me just tell the honourable member that the government decides on a reasoned basis, balancing the needs of our budgetary restraints and budgetary dollars with the needs of Albertans.
Well, I'd like to ask the Premier if it's his newfound love of rural Alberta that's responsible for this program, and if it is, will the love last long enough to assure farmers that they won't lose this 5 cent a litre benefit in next year's budget?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I recall back in 1985 when first talking about the potential for returning to public life, how I established for myself and with our party that agriculture is the #1 priority of this government and this party, and that hasn't changed.
Edmonton Kingsway, Drayton Valley, Westlock Sturgeon, Calgary McKnight, Edmonton Jasper Place, Edmonton Meadowlark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the 1986-87 budget, the deficit, that is the combined deficit, was estimated by the Treasurer to be $2.33 billion. It turned out to be $3.44 billion, an error of some 48%. The next year, his error was 45%, unfortunately in the right direction, but this last year, the error was 127% in the wrong direction.
Miscommunication.
I asked the Treasurer, how can anybody believe his $1.49 billion deficit figure in this budget, particularly when we know that he's not counting the Heritage Trust Fund and that it should be $1.63 billion?
Same question.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I know that over the next few months here we'll have an opportunity to discuss the fiscal plan, talk about the numbers, and I hope over the next 2 months as well I'll be able to unravel what it is the member just said.
I understand that the Treasurer is a bit slow with figures, but perhaps we can try this. In the December 6th update of his budget, he said that the deficit would be $1.37 billion. That is the combined deficit. His budget figures last night show that it was $1.9 billion. Would he like to assure the people of Alberta that his mistake had nothing to do with lying to the people before an election?
Speaker, he's going to get my competitive juices flowing here with those kinds of words.
The chair's own competitive juices are flowing as well. That's the third member today who's used the term lying or words to such effect, and that just absolutely has to stop. Response, please, Provincial Treasurer, on the question.
Mr. Speaker, I'm taken back and shocked by the accusations of a member. You know, we maintain the decorum in this House, and I think you can see from across the way that there's no respect for the parliamentary traditions. We're trying to present a reasonable fiscal plan to the people of Alberta, trying to get the message across to the good folks in Lethbridge in particular so they understand the program of this government. But as I understand it from across the way, what they would do is reduce the taxes on cigarettes, would cut back on the social programs. Well, no, Mr. Speaker, it is this government that has the conscience, that is the caring government, as we've said before, because we want to maintain those programs, and we're doing it with a balanced position, because the economy of this province is very strong, the tax regime is extremely low, and the people of Alberta have faith in this government.
Time for question period has expired. Might we have unanimous consent to complete this series of questions and also to have the Minister of Agriculture give supplementary information on a matter as raised yesterday? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Supplementary, Edmonton Kingsway.
Mr. Speaker, every prognosticator in the country for the last 4 months has indicated that the Alberta government, or that the Alberta economy will grow at the slowest rate of any province in Canada. Yet the Treasurer continues to stand up here and mislead the people of this province by saying that we got the healthiest economy.
Sorry, Honourable Member. Honourable Member, mislead is unparliamentary. Please withdraw. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I would give some free advice to the member from Norwood. I mean, if you're going to ask questions of that order, I mean, you're giving us a great opportunity to tell the good people of Alberta just what it is I'm going to tell them now, Mr. Speaker. And that is, Mr. Speaker, that this economy is one of the strongest economies in Canada. Last year, the growth rate was 7.7%, the highest in Canada, and the lowest inflation rate, Mr. Speaker. And lo and behold, Mr. Speaker, what do we find out this morning? Now, I know it shot down their game plan. I know they don't want to talk about diversification, the great things that are happening in this province. Here it is, Mr. Speaker, the second lowest unemployment rate in Canada, 6.9%, Mr. Speaker. People are at work. People are enjoying themselves. They're convinced that this government is doing the right thing. Mr. Speaker, this economy is going to grow much further than 3.5% next year. You can quote the doomsayers all you want. This government knows that the growth rate will be above the 3.5%. It'll be one of the strongest there is, Mr. Speaker. And let me make it very clear. This government is optimistic about the future. This government is blending policies will ensure...
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Supplementary. Minister of Agriculture, and the question had been raised by Vegreville, if the chair remembers correctly.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday the honourable member for Vegreville raised a question with respect to a federal drought assistance program. I'm not sure why he's raising it in this legislature rather than discussing it with his member of parliament, who just happens to be the Minister of Agriculture for Canada. But the program, for clarification of the honourable member, that was announced for grain farmers last fall was announced by the federal government. Money has already flowed to some of the producers from the federal government, and I would anticipate that they will fulfill their commitment to the agricultural community.
The question was, what negotiations have gone on between the Alberta government and the federal government in Ottawa regarding cost sharing of this program, because the federal government allocated $425 million to an $850 million commitment. And I'd like to ask the Minister of Agriculture, is it this government's intention to use Alberta taxpayers' money to fund Brian Mulroney's election promises? Yes or no?
Mr. Speaker, may I repeat, the program was announced by the federal government. It is being delivered by the federal government. I'm assuming they're going to fulfill their commitments. Since I've been the Minister of Agriculture for the province of Alberta, under my definition of negotiations, I would say my direct answer to your question is none.
Now then. Points of order. First, Minister of Advanced Education, followed by Edmonton Jasper Place, followed by Edmonton Belmont, and who knows who else. Advanced Education.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rose during the question period on a point of order with regard to a statement made by the Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition, and I quote his words, "Why again were you lying to the people of Alberta?" in reference to a question to the Honourable Premier. Mr. Speaker, far be it from me to cast any aspersions on the House, but it would appear almost as though this is becoming so regular in terms of this honourable member rising that it should almost perhaps be on the daily routine. Mr. Speaker, I am very concerned about the language used by the honourable member under Beauchene, both 489 and Beauchene 429, but more importantly, Mr. Speaker, that matter which most members of this House and certainly the honourable leader traditionally have followed, and that's our own standing order 23, sub H, sub I, and sub J. So, Mr. Speaker, I would, with respect, bring it to your attention and request the honourable leader of the opposition to withdraw his unparliamentary language.
I know that the honourable member is upset when we bring the truth here. I was talking about these particular promises that have been dumped. I was not talking about him lying to the House, Mr.
Give me, Honourable Leader of the Opposition, order, please. Same difficulty with an exhibit in the House. Perhaps you could leave it on your desk, fold it up, and carry on with your point, but the specific issue is the unparliamentary language.
Mr. Speaker, the point I did not say that there was misleading or lying to this Assembly. I was talking about election promises, Mr. Speaker, right. And if they're not committed, and people say it, what other term do you want me to use then, right. Mr. Speaker? That's precisely what the people of Alberta understand. I was not doing it here in terms of misleading the Assembly. What I was doing is talking about election promises, and I think there's a big difference. I think the honourable member knows that.
That's right, sure does.
Unfortunately, Leader of the Opposition, in a moment, having read the blues, I will first, you'll see that indeed unparliamentary language was used. But let me also say that in the first two instances, because it came up three ways in your questions, you were careful enough and successful enough in crafting your words that you were within order. When you said, "Why didn't you tell the truth during the election?" That was in the first and second question. By looking at the terms in Beauchene, that appears to somehow be acceptable in those sets of terms. But in the last question, it is not acceptable to say, "Why were you lying to the people of Alberta?" So that you were able to craft it in one sense in the first two, but struck out on the third strike. So on that instance, would the member be gracious enough as to withdraw?
Mr. Speaker, I think there is a difference when you're talking to the people of Alberta and when you're talking in the Assembly. I'd like a ruling on that. But, Mr. Speaker, a lie is a lie, but if you're going to rule that that's unparliamentary, what they did to the people of Alberta, I'll say they were distorting the truth then and withdraw lying.
Hear, hear.
I'm afraid, honourable member, distorting and is also unparliamentary. 492. I'm sorry, honourable member. We're still with the leader. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With respect, the 6th edition of Beauchene, section 491, states, and I quote, "The Speaker has consistently ruled that language used in the House should be temperate and worthy of the place in which it is spoken. No language is by virtue of any list acceptable or unacceptable. A word which is parliamentary in one context may cause disorder in another context and therefore be unparliamentary. Now, in the list that follows under Section 492, I see both the preamble that goes in before the list says that the following expressions are a partial list of expressions which have caused intervention on the part of the chair. Now, distort is there. Lie, liar, lied, lies, lying is there. But it doesn't say unparliamentary, Mr. Speaker. It's the preceding list under Section 490 that says it's unparliamentary, not under 492. So the interventions on unparliamentary language are two different things.
Well, with due respect, honourable member, you've made your case in support of the chair. Thank you very much. Section 491 has said the Speaker has consistently ruled that language used in the House should be temperate and worthy of the place in which it is spoken. The chair really does not feel that lie, deliberately mislead, fits within the category of 491. Thank you. And in 492, you see that the list is there in terms of intervention. And indeed, we are having interventions, and there will be more interventions if these phrases continue to be used. For example, in the rest of question period, the member for Calgary-Buffalo was guilty of using the term misleads. That will be called to order. Again, the member for Edmonton-Kingsway used the term mislead. That also will be called to order. And this indeed will be what the practice is as we get into week two of this particular sitting, because the chair has allowed a certain amount of leeway in terms of week one because of new members. Nevertheless, the offenses are not being caused in the main by new members. And surely members of this House, I know, will take care to give some consideration over the weekend to use more skillful ways of using the English language in terms of dealing with question period. Order, please, honourable member. Order, please. Order. The chair is indeed willing to allow some slight amount more of debate to continue on the point, but that's about it.
Speaker, in view of your ruling, I've got the book in front of me. I withdraw lying and say they deceived, debased, they were arrogant, ashamed of their past actions, depriving, dishonoring.
Thank you, honourable member. That is more than enough. And that is really not worthy of your office, I'm afraid. The chair, order please in all parts of the House. The chair recognizes Edmonton Jasper Place on a point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My point is covered in many citations, but I think 409.5 of Beauchesne is the clearest. A question raised the matter ought to be of some urgency. There must be some present value in seeking the information during the question period rather than through the order paper or through correspondence with the minister or the department. In question period, the member for Banff Cochrane not once, not twice, but 3 times asked for statistics on employment, which it just so happens are in a news release issued by somebody in the government today. In fact, they all have them on their desk. I think these statistics are published by Statistics Canada, issued by a news release from the department. Surely it isn't necessary to bump the rest of us off question period so that they can be reiterated here during these proceedings.
Westlock Sturgeon.
Speaker, if I may, on that point of order, surely we have heard time and time again from that there's time for ministerial announcements after question period. And it would appear, I don't think it's deliberate, but there may be and maybe Mr. Speaker, your kindness and tolerance with freshmen MLAs asking the questions, and they may be the only ones to be able to be talked into by the ministers that should know better to ask these puffball questions. But I would ask, Mr. Speaker, that you rule occasionally that these things can be ministerial announcements after question period and not during question period, trying to bump the opposition off questions that aren't important.
Member for Banff Cochrane, followed by Edmonton Meadowlark.
On this point, Mr. Speaker, with all due respect to the members across the floor, the issues of employment are particularly important to the people of Banff Cochrane. All employment in this province is an important issue. The members of the opposition have indicated on numerous occasions that it's one of their priorities. I'm flabbergasted, Mr. Speaker, that the members of the opposition are not concerned enough to listen to this information being made public in this House. More importantly...
All right. The tradition is to speak briefly to points of order. Thank you. And also that they be heard without interruption. Banff Cochrane is still there, and then there's Edmonton Meadowlark, followed by Edmonton Kingsway, and that will be sufficient on this matter.
More importantly, Mr. Speaker, because Banff Cochrane is such a tourist area, we have an incredible number of students from this province and other areas in the country converging on our constituency during the summer period. It's extremely important to the members of our constituency to know what is happening with student employment.
Way to go. Edmonton Meadowlark, followed by Edmonton Kingsway.
Not denying them the knowledge, it's just the opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to support my colleague from Edmonton Jasper Place in his motion, which in a general sense chastises backbench government MLAs for diminishing the impact, wasting the time of our time in question period with what would perhaps be called frivolous or unnecessary questions. I think it is very important for new members of the legislature, for backbench government members who have been here before, to be reminded that question period plays a very significant role in the accountability process for government in this legislature. And what I know about good government, about strong government, about the kind of government that perhaps this party once provided this province an awfully long time ago, was that it would not resist an opportunity for adequate and appropriate accountability, but in fact it would welcome such an opportunity, because that kind of accountability makes any government not weaker, it makes it stronger. And therefore I believe, and I find, that a number of the questions over the last 6 days in this legislature from government MLA backbenchers have been highly inappropriate. They have offered a blatant opportunity, an opportunity for blatant political propaganda on the part of ministers, and they have sought, I'm getting to the point, Mr. Speaker, and they have sought information that could better be sought and more appropriately be sought through other vehicles available to MLAs at this point. And I offer motions on the order paper and written questions. Or personally go and talk to a minister. As for the MLA, the member from Banff Cochrane's concern that he communicate publicly certain information to his constituents, a legitimate concern, a ministerial statement to that.
Thank you for the advice and direction. Perhaps you could wrap up the point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A ministerial statement after question period is still on the cable TV and will still communicate that, but it will not take time from question period. Mr. Speaker, I think it is very, very important for a member like the member from Banff Cochrane and some of his colleagues earlier this week to understand that he only diminishes himself and he only diminishes his party by raising questions like that, that some of these questions, in fact...
Thank you, honourable member. Thank you. Let's not complicate the process anymore. Edmonton Kingsway.
I'll try to be brief, Mr. Speaker. I think a lot has been said, but it's important to point out that no one is denigrating the importance of the unemployment statistics and certainly the need for jobs of people. And unfortunately, you've been accepting 8 and 10% unemployment as if it was acceptable. But nor the questions about China. These are important topics. We're talking about the manner in which they are introduced into the House. Now, if there are some important questions that need to be answered for this Assembly, then fine, the opposition asks them. But those are not important questions in the sense that they could not be stated perfectly clearly and perfectly adequately by a minister standing up and make a simple and short ministerial statement at the end of question period. And so therefore you waste a lot of question period time asking puffball questions, quite frankly, because there is no give and take there. You just ask a patsy question and he gives a patsy answer, and this goes on, and there's far too much of that.
The original point of the point of order was with regard to whether the matter was of some urgency in terms of question period, and members raising that should also then take the same yardstick and apply it against their own questions. no matter which part of the House they happen to be sitting in. In terms of the urgency, with respect to the matter as raised concerning employment statistics, this of a matter the Chair assumes was raised within the last day or two, and therefore would seem to be a matter of current interest, no matter which quarter of the House it would be raised in. Therefore, the Chair does not regard the original point of order as being valid. The additional comments that have taken place with regard to puffball questions, for example, again, some considerable thought should be given to those comments. In terms of the general flow of question period that has been redesigned, thanks to the input of the House leaders of all political parties, it now means that many more members are able to get into debate. In terms of question period, all honourable members here are elected to represent their constituencies. Whether they be government or from another political party, they still have, all members have the right, other than those in the front benches of the government, to raise questions with regard to the whole province, let alone with regard to their own constituency. As I look at the statistics as compiled by table as to those who have been able to get into question period from all political parties, the government members are far and away behind in terms of the actual numbers of questions raised. For any member to make an assessment as to the quality of question as raised from any quarter of the House is indeed that member's personal prerogative, and one is entitled to their own opinion. But in the opinion of the Chair, now that we come to the end of about, the sixth question period, I really believe that the whole process has been greatly enhanced and allows many more members to get in, and especially with regard to new members of the House, that they would get in, whereas oftentimes they would probably have to wait weeks before they would be allowed an opportunity to start to develop their own skills with regard to question period. The comments with regard to ministerial statements, the Chair has no control over directing the government to issue a ministerial statement. That is within the prerogative of the government. Thank you, honourable members. Perhaps now we could go to Edmonton Belmont on a point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My point of order relates to the same matter, but under a different section of Beauchesne. It's section 410, subsection 5, and that is that the purpose, 410, sub 5, that for Hansard is, Mr. Speaker, I quote, the primary purpose of the question period is the seeking of information and calling the government to account. Mr. Speaker, I would submit that the information was readily available in the minister's office this morning. I went over and collected it, and here I hold the unemployment statistics for the month of May. One would wonder why the honourable member from Banff Cochrane couldn't do the same. Now, in his
order, please, honourable member. The point of order that you are now raising under another section clearly relates back to what the Chair has just ruled on. I'm sorry, this is out of order. I'm sorry, honourable member. It's out of order. Now, earlier in an exchange between the Leader of the Opposition and the Chair was intemperate in its remarks in response to the fact that the Leader of the Opposition then started to read down a number of terms. The Chair overreacted to the fact that that was far too many terms to be sort of read out all of a sudden. And therefore the Chair made some comments with regard to the Leader of the Opposition and his office. And the Chair, with respect and with sincerity, apologizes to the Leader of the Opposition. Under Standing Order 40, the Chair recognizes the member for Vegreville.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The motion, I believe, has been distributed to all members of the Assembly for them to assess the urgency of it. If I may just read it again before commenting briefly on the urgency. Be it resolved that the Legislative Assembly pay tribute to the hard-working farm families of Alberta for their significant contributions to our province's past, present, and future on this special day observed in rural communities throughout Alberta on Farmers' Day. I think it's fair to say, without going on at length, that regardless of the political party in the House, all honourable members in this Legislative Assembly recognize the importance of farm families to our province's economy, recognize that this great province was built and developed as a result of the hard work of our pioneers, and we share a commitment to work together to develop policies. And I think because this is Farmers' Day, because today is Farmers' Day, it's being recognized throughout rural communities in the province, celebrated in fact by school holidays in some communities, that it's appropriate for this Assembly to approve this motion today.
The member for Vegreville has put it to the House, the request for unanimous consent. All those in favor of granting unanimous consent, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Motion carries. Speaking to the motion, honourable member, if there are additional comments to be made.
Well, again, Mr. Speaker, it is Farmers' Day. I know there are a number of rural members in this Assembly that would dearly love to be out with their constituents, attending the various functions, ball games, parades, barbecues, etc., to help local people celebrate Farmers' Day and pay tribute to people. But alas, we have overriding public responsibility that requires us to be in the House, and for that reason I bring the motion to the House so that all honourable members have a chance to express their appreciation of farm families in Alberta.
The Honourable Minister of Economic Development and Trade, followed by Cypress Raycliffe.
Mr. Speaker, might I too pay a word of tribute on behalf of our two Ministers of Agriculture by way of the news release that they issued today, recognizing the important role that our agricultural community does play to the way of life in the province of Alberta. And we underscore that by recognizing today as Farmers' Day so that all Albertans will recognize the outstanding contribution that is made by a very important segment of our society. And we pay tribute to them in a very sincere and tangible way today, this Friday.
Mr. Speaker, just to repeat some of the words of the Minister of Economic Development, and as Chairman of the Caucus Committee on Agriculture, I'd like to support the motion. And I well remember this holiday a number of years ago when I was in school, and I thought how unfair. The city kids got to think about agriculture, got to remember agriculture, got a day off. We got a day off from school to go to work on the farm. And I see some over there nodding their heads. I guess there was some others that were in the same predicament. But as time goes on, it becomes something more than an extra working day on the farm. And in many areas of the province, there is occasions to celebrate, and I would like to lend my support to the passing of this motion.
Sturgeon.
To add voice to the well-crafted motion by the honourable member for Vegreville and its support by the government benches. Also to express my party's support and tribute for what farming has done, what farm families have done for Alberta, but possibly also, Mr. Speaker, to do more than just thank farms and farmers and farm families for the past and for the present, but really we would be breaking faith with them if we didn't also dedicate ourselves to the preservation of the family farm, and maybe more important, the preservation of number 1, 2, and 3 farmland, a very asset that any country in the world would give their eye teeth to have, what we have here in Alberta. And yet we so often on the idea of short-term gain, whether it's gas plants or industry or a town, the government and maybe some of us in the opposition also are guilty of, we often forget the real dedication we must have to preserving food-producing land into the future and the family farm.
Member for Edmonton-Belmont.
I'm one of the city kids that had the time off and haven't had the opportunity to go out into rural Alberta to celebrate along with my rural colleagues the barbecues and the picnics and the parades that go on to celebrate Farmers' Day. So as an urban member, I wanted to congratulate the honourable member for moving the motion, but also more importantly to thank the farmers of our province for providing us with the quality of life that we enjoy in the city.
Is there a call for the question? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.